Welcome back to Tied Down TV, the punk rock opinion show with me, Geoff.
And Danny.
And today we're going to do our 5 most disappointing live gigs.
Well, yeah, and when we say disappointing live gigs, there's many factors that can make up a disappointing gig. It doesn't necessarily have to mean the band was disappointing.
Yeah.
All sorts of shit can happen at a gig, can't they? All sorts. There can be something wrong with the venue, there can be something wrong with the equipment, anything can happen. Something can happen to you on the way to the gig that makes it disappointing, that ruins everything. There's loads of shit.
Absolutely.
So, we've had our fair share of incidents, either together or separately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? And, sometimes they can make for a good story, can't they?
Yeah.
So, sometimes tragically or comedically stories, do you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Pretty easy really to come up with 5. I could have come up with more.
I thought it was going to be difficult, but once I thought of 2 or 3 and they just kept coming then I was okay. Yeah, and echoing what Danny's just said, I'd like to point out that all the bands I've picked are bands I actually love. Yeah. And I've seen a few of them again and they've been brilliant. Like you say, a lot of it's factors that aren't in the control of the band or the band.
Well, the name of the title of the video in itself, Disappointing. Now, I think I've got to clear this up. In order for something to be disappointing, there has to be an element of expectancy.
Absolutely.
So we can't cheat and say, I went to see me mate's band, Willie and the Wonky Chomps, for £2 down the barfly and he was shit. Yeah. That doesn't count, does it? Right? You've got to have some level of expectancy. So it's got to be a band. It's all. If it's the first thing that comes to my head, right? If it's going to be a band if it's going to be a gig that disappointed you, there has to have been a degree of expectancy in the first.
100%.
In the first, so and in my case, there was definitely expectancy with all these gigs.
Yeah,
and
same.
As you said, we discussed before. A few of these bands I've seen since, and it was much better. Mm-hmm. A few of these bands I've seen before, and it was much better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Glad, do you want to go first?
Okay, I'll go first. So, my first one I'm picking, this is the furthest back. This is the first time I was disappointed seeing a live band, and it's Rival Schools. So, before Quicksand, before Gorilla Biscuits, I heard Rival Schools first, because when the United by Fate album came out, and I think it's 2001 or 2002, so 16, 17 years old, I obviously was into punk by that point, but I hadn't obviously really gotten onto hardcore and things like that properly yet. But Rival Schools came out that album and I loved it, still love it to this day, and I still think they're a great band. So I saw them, and it was like an all day thing. There was a load of bands playing. Green Day were headlining it. It was in Manchester. They were on second, so I'd already bought their album. I loved it. I thought it was fucking amazing. Then when I found out they were playing, I was buzzing. They were on second after I can't remember. There was another band on before him, and it was very flat atmosphere. No. I mean, hit and miss when you see a band outdoors anyway.
Yeah.
But the sound wasn't great. The atmosphere was very flat. I was only, about 17 at the time, and I just remember I'd been to quite a few gigs even by that point, but I'd never been let down by any of them. Really, they were all, and it was all bands I wanted to see. And like I say, I was really excited to see these, and it just fell flat, and the crowd didn't seem to be with it or there. And just the whole thing. I remember feeling I remember turning to my mate who was there with, and I said that was a big letdown. I feel a bit gutted. Yeah. And I didn't actually even return to the album to listen to it again for a while after that. And no slight to the band, like I say, because I've never seen them again live, but I've seen live footage of them and it's fucking brilliant. So they're obviously a great band. Walter Schreifels knows exactly what he's doing. It just, as we said at the beginning, that was more the crowd, the outside of it. It just fell flat, and it disappointed me a lot because they were a band like I say I was looking forward to seeing in the lead up to that show.
Have you seen them since?
I've not seen them since because they split up.
Okay.
A couple of years after that, and they are back together now, but I haven't had a chance to see them again. Okay. Yeah.
My first pick is, I'm stepping slightly only slightly out of our punk rock theme a little bit, but you can't deny to me that thrashing punk have got a link.
Absolutely.
The first pick I'm going for is when I seen Testament in Manchester around 2012, and I'm pretty sure they played with Creator from what I remember, and I've got to remember I was disappointed in both bands, but more so in Testament because I'm a bigger fan of Testament. Love Testament. It was in the Academy. And the thing that let this down was, one, they played hardly any of their classic tunes, and don't want to sound like one of them old guys. The classic stuff. They played hardly any of their classic stuff. They played three tunes. They played 2 off The Legacy, and they played Into the Pit, which is one of their best tunes off New World Order. But other than that, it was just all fucking... But it weren't even just that. It was in that big room in the Academy, the big massive one. Yeah. and for some reason they had all these mad fucking blazing lights going off, like really over the top. Like, I've seen a few gigs in there, it's never been this bad, and it was like zzz, and like it was making me like blind. I couldn't see fuck all. For them or Creator, I couldn't see jack shit. And when it finished, I came out there dazzled, and I just said to my mate, well, that was fucking shite. So yeah, Testament, who were an unbelievable thrash band. Yeah. It was around 2012, Manchester, Testament.
Nice.
One of the most disappointing.
Yeah. Okay. So next choice for me, I've gone for At the Drive-In on the 2012 reunion. So I talked about it in a couple of videos. Obviously, these were a big, important band for me when I was about 15 and I heard that album. And this band, like, they grafted for years. They built a reputation on an explosive live show, particularly frontman Cedric and guitarist Omar, the dudes with the big hair, for those who don't know their names. Now, never thought they were going to go back together because they fucking fell out, split up. You know, one off Mars Volta, one formed Sparta. And it went, you know, the band split into two camps. And then all of a sudden, they're coming back, and I'm thinking, fuck me. I never got to see them. They split up before I'd had a chance. Fucking, they're so excited. And it was at a festival. They were headlining one of the tents, so it was indoor enough, you know what I mean? It's enclosed. The sound can be pretty good in them. And in the moments when they came on, I was fucking going mental and screaming along to the songs. And then about 4 or 5 songs in, I thought, it is lacking something. And I realised what it was like, so Cedric, the singer, he was still going mental like he used to, swinging the mic, dancing, grooving. Omar was standing still. There was no life in him. You could tell he didn't want to be there. Now, I will actually get to the point as well, if any of you know their backstory a little bit, that just before this tour, Omar's mum died. I didn't know that at the time. A lot of people had the same gripes with them when they got back together on this tour. And it was for the cash. I think even they kind of said, yeah, we would want to do another Mars Volta album. So Omar and Cedric got back with At the Drive-In and kind of to fund another album. But as I say, Omar's mum died, and that explains it. Obviously, that's why it fell flat. But it just, for me at the time, it just was a little bit of a climax of knowing I was going to get to see one of my favourite bands from my younger days, and very excited. And then when I saw it, it just lacked. And that's, like you said at the beginning, expectations. I think because their reputation was built on this explosive live show, I had very high expectations, and they were let down. And like I say, after knowing what happened with Omar's mum, it's very understandable. And then, as I say at the beginning, I'm not knocking any of these bands, and I know At the Drive-In again, since then, when they got back together again, we're fucking doing all, you know, killing it live again. So that's my second pick, though. My second pick is a gig I know a lot of like metalers still talk about for being a bit of a disaster. I can't remember the exact year, but it was grindcore / death porn grime band Exhumed in the Barfly, Liverpool. I think it was around 2014. And it still gets spoken about for how awful the sound was. Now, whoever the sound person was that day, they had no idea of the sense of the event or whatever like that. It was terrible. Now, I think they might have been supported that gig by Imitation. I could be wrong. Okay. They were like a classic death metal band. But I've seen Imitation a few times. I'm sure one of them times was in Liverpool. I'm sure it was supporting on this gig. But when Exhumed hit, the sound was terrible. It sounded like a fucking wet pasty coming through the fucking speakers. I was like, you know what? For how bad it sounded, I mean, it got that bad. People were pointing at the sound like, fucking sort it out. And you could see in the members' faces how pissed off they were getting. It sounded like they were like, well, you know, this is fucking, you know, they were looking at each other like, this is terrible. It just sounded awful. For how bad it sounded, the singer might have just come out and just gone like that for like an hour. That's how bad it sounded. And it's funny because I still go to gigs now, like metal gigs, you know, and people, I've spoken to a few, oh, remember that fucking, it was famous for the sound being terrible. I mean, I'm not a huge fan anyway. Gore Metal's a decent album for what it is, but I'm not a huge fan. But that was really disappointing. But that was all down to the sound, nothing to do with the band themselves. Alright, well, pick number 3 for me, I've gone for, you know, bear with me, Subhumans. So, the very first time I got to see Subhumans was only a few years ago.
I'm curious to hear this story.
So, it was at Northwest Calling, in, I want to say 2022, maybe, or 2021 or 2022, I can't remember. They played, Steve Ignorant played his Crash set, and the Ruts did the Crack anniversary. the Ruts DC and played the Crack front to back, but didn't play any of their other, didn't play Staring at the Rude Boys, things like that. Really. But I'm talking about Subhumans, who I was, again, much like I said about like, you know, going into at the driving gig, rival schools gig, like, I was very amped up to see this band because I loved them. Never seen them live, I was fucking well excited. And this one is completely down to the venue. So this was just not the right room for them at all. So this was in the Ritz in Manchester, which is, you know, a decent venue. Seen a few bands there and it sounded good. It just got lost, completely lost. I could barely hear Dick singing at all.
And he's an amazing frontman.
And like we said before, this is a band that I have seen again with you.
And I said, well, when you told me when you told me you were picking Subhumans, I was like, but we've seen Subhumans and they were fucking amazing.
And this is what I'm saying. Like, you know, I think all of my picks at some point or another were great live bands, and it's a lot of it is just down to those kinds of issues. It just, the rooms, I felt this was too big and the sound wasn't right, and I was trying to like stand like centre, so you know, like the right fucking thing, so the speakers just so I could hear them. I just, like I say, it fell a little bit flat for me. Again, when we saw him in Wigan, it was amazing. Fucking, you know, small room, low ceiling, and it was brilliant. And he sounded great, loads of energy. It was brilliant. So that's my third pick. And like I say, it's a band that I've seen again, and they completely changed my opinion of it as a live thing. But just the expectation of seeing him for the first time, it let me down.
Yeah, my third pick, kind of a funny story, a little bit. My third pick, Extreme Noise Terror in the Magnet. I think it was 2000. I've written down 2015, but I might be out by a year or two. Now, the reason this is funny is because this was before me and you had started talking again. I hadn't seen you for years. Otherwise, you'd have been coming to this with me. So the only other person I knew at the time who was big into Extreme Noise Terror was Brian. Right. So Extreme Noise Terror playing in the Magnet. First time he played in Liverpool in like over 20 years and all this. It's a big deal. So he's like, oh man, fucking Extreme Noise Terror, man, I can't wait. So me and Brian, you know, we get tickets for Extreme well in advance. Dead excited, fucking, we get, you know, getting quite giddy, you know, as it's leading up to it. Everything we do, you know, we're getting like really stupid. Everything we do, if we go somewhere this is how excited we're getting. If we see something on the menu, we're like, look, ENT, Extreme Noise Terror. We're getting dead excited. It's a big build up. Extreme Noise Terror, fucking Extreme Noise. Getting dead excited. Comes to the day. Oh man, Extreme Noise Terror tonight, man. Dead excited. He'll be there now. If he watches this video, he'll be laughing because he knows what's coming. Extreme Noise Terror. We turn up to the Magnets. Dead excited. Now, they're being supported by Desecration, who are like a big death metal band from Wales, right? Now, what we don't realise at the time, or what I didn't realise at the time, is now Extreme Noise Terror now is pretty much Desecration, or at this time was Desecration with a newer singer at the time. He's been in them a while now, but at the time, the second, because obviously anyone who doesn't know, Extreme Noise Terror are two vocalists. The guy, the other guy they had on singing was I think relatively new to the band then. He wasn't that old either, maybe a little bit older than us, slightly older than us. And Dean, the original singer, but he's like the legend of the band, the most recognisable one with all the white spiky hair, right? So we turn up to the gig, right? Desecration play, fine, you know. Extreme Noise Terror take to the stage, right? The new singer gets up. Turns out the night before, Dean had overdosed on something and could not make the gig. So basically what we had now was Desecration with this new singer. And that's what it fucking was. And they kept making jokes that Extreme Noise Terror hadn't played Liverpool for 20 odd years and basically still haven't. And it was fucking heart-wrenching, honestly. It was heart-wrenching because, you know, they've been quite a big influence in my life, Extreme Noise Terror. You know, they're a a band I've always really loved. And yeah, I was really looking forward to it. And it wasn't them. It fucking wasn't them. The closest thing we got is at one point, the roadie got up with the other singer and they did do a couple of songs dual, which it was still cool and he played well. But let's be honest, it wasn't Extreme Noise Terror. So unfortunately, I have not ticked them off. And that was a bit of a farce.
Well, pick number 4 then for me. So I've gone Napalm Death, and specifically, again, this is a band I've seen since, and they were best. And it wasn't actually that these were bad. So I hadn't seen them before, despite the fact they're one of them bands that I think, because they played so often, I just never really bothered going to watch them, even though I loved them, especially certain points in their discography. So anyway, we go to see them, don't we, Manchester, and I think we probably referenced this gig a few times, but two of the support bands were fucking outstanding. Siberian Meat Grinder, we'd never heard them, came on, blew us away, and then of course the mighty Drop Dead, fucking amazing again, brilliant. Now, I'd already knew before this that during this tour, Barney had broken his foot or something like that. Anyway, and he was carrying on, and much respect for that, love that. You know, he didn't want to let anyone down. He played the show, and like I say, it was still quite interesting, it was good, and he was sitting down. But also, Shane Embry wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I hadn't seen Napalm Death before, and I thought, and like I say, they still put on a good show. Saw them again earlier this year in Liverpool, and they were great. But it was just that little bit of a letdown, like I say, because no Shane Embry, and Barney wasn't like he does his little marching across the stage and stuff. He was sitting down, he was still being all mad, but yeah, it was just a little bit anticlimactic, and I think especially because right before them Drop Dead had just been on, and before them Siberian Meat Grinder had absolutely fucking blown the place apart. Like, so yeah, that's it. Like I say, not much more to say about that. That was just a small minor thing that was out of the band's control, really, but respect that they did it. I just felt a little bit let down that the first time seeing them wasn't the complete lineup and in full fitness, so to speak.
Funnily enough, I've seen Napalm Death 3 times now, and only the last time I saw them, it was like them performing how they should. So the second time I seen them was with that gig you're talking about. The very first time I seen them was at a Hammerfest about maybe over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And about 3 songs into the set, a kid broke his neck in the crowd, and they had to abandon their set. Yeah, so it'd been a bit of a disaster for me up until that last gig we saw them at. This is the least exciting of all mine. This is from this year, actually. GBH in the TIV in Buckley. I'm a huge GBH fan, especially them first records. I'd never seen them before, and we used to always say they never seem to come to the Northwest. So they come. You didn't come. I can't remember why you couldn't make that gig.
My birthday and I was out.
Yeah, was it? You in Blackpool, weren't you?
Yeah, I couldn't get back in time. Yeah.
Right, so went with a few people, and then it was just like it was right. So they came on, and I was kind of excited because there was quite a lot of OGs still in the band, but they were so fucking. You know what? I don't think that venue did any favours for him. Like I don't like that venue. It's the first time I've been in there, and I didn't like it one bit. Felt like a bit of a bingo hall. It felt all like it was set up better for a metal band, but it just felt like they were going through the motions a little bit.
Okay.
It just felt like they were, and I was bored. And it was one of the first gigs I've ever been to where I've really waited to see a band, and I've left before they finished.
Wow.
It was that boring. It was like I say, it just felt like they were going through the motions. They were, I know they're getting on a bit, but they were very static, very still. Do you know what I mean? And no, don't get me wrong, I'm not wanting them to jump all around, but it looked like there was not much effort going on to me, and it was just a little bit like, oh, this is a bit boring. This, but like I say as well, I think if it was a more small, intimate venue, I think it'd have been much, much better. The fact that the TIV's got this stage with a barrier, and then it's got this weird fucking big dance floor thing that goes round. I'm not a fan of that venue at all, and I think for them it didn't suit them. And I think it's going to be kind of similar to your next pick, actually, for what you're going to say. I think it's going to be a similar kind of situation.
Okay, yeah. So my final pick is Black Flag. So this was January 2023, I think, last year. What Black Flag is now is what I'll say, and I went in with enough expectation to have been let down, even though really I shouldn't have expected loads because it's only Greg Ginn left, and that's not to say the other players in the band aren't tight, they can't play, they can, and I enjoyed seeing the songs live, but I don't even know really if I count it as seeing Black Flag live. I don't really count it. I was with you, wasn't I? I didn't pay for that gig, funny enough. You got me a free ticket. And that was, but again, that was in the same venue when I was talking about Subhumans. It sounded alright though in there, to be fair, and it's alright, and this is, I don't want to be too slating on any bands really, because I love Black Flag, fucking love them, and Greg Ginn is a genius, despite personality wise what I've heard he's like. I do think at one point anyway, he was a creative genius. But I felt like I was watching it was just an imitation of previous incarnations of Black Flag. Even like some of the stances that were getting done was a bit Rollins-esque, and then a bit Keith Morris. When he doesn't have his he just didn't have his own. Yeah, he doesn't have his own identity. Exactly. Yeah, it felt like when he was doing the Rollins, he was doing the Rollins. When he was Keith Morris, he was a bit more like like Keith Morris used to be. And like I say, it was to the point, like I say, where I'm not even sure I'd say I've officially seen Black Flag, even if that is the longest serving vocalist for that band still, believe it or not. And we did discuss this, the venue wasn't right for him. And it wasn't right venue, no. It was too big, and the ceiling, it's too high up. It just doesn't just doesn't work. So yeah, that's my final pick.
My final pick, and there's a reason I've picked this last, and the reason I picked this last is usually when my mum watches these videos, she's usually stopped watching it by this point, I think, so...
Yeah.
Right, so you know what's coming.
I know what's coming.
Right, so Terrorizer this year, in Rebellion, one of the best grindcore album ever, World Downfall.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah, it's my opinion the best. We go to see him this year. How close have you, apart from actually having a heart attack, how close have you guys ever actually been to having a heart attack? Usually when you've lost your phone, you think you've lost your phone or something like that. Well, listen to this. So me and you, Terrorizer, a few months ago, excited, right? Very excited. We get to Rebellion. Anyone who's been to Rebellion in Manchester knows that at the back, the very back where the bar is, they've got this old leather couch. This old fucking battered leather couch that's fucking all falling apart and all in bits and everything. We turn up, we sit on this couch, we're on there for ages, not really interested in the opening bands and all that. We sit in anyway, almost gets time for Terrorize to come on. You say to me, I'm going for the burst. I was like, right, I'll be here in a minute. I'm just sitting off here for a bit. You go off. Right. 5 minutes passes, I go to stand up to take my place. Terrorizer starts, I stand up. Start patting myself down like I always do whenever I've been sat down. Holy shit, where's my car keys? Right? Manchester, no car keys. Fucking hell. So I come running down to you, and I said, it was something like this: Geoff, we can't get home, I've lost my car keys.
It wasn't quite that bad,
but you get it was close enough, right? But then you also go white as well, because it's like, how the fuck are we getting home? What's going on? So then me and you...
We could have got home.
Well, yeah, we could have got home, but, you know...
It would have been a bigger fuck getting home from Liverpool.
It wouldn't have fucking stopped the heart attack. No. It would have made it worse. You knew what would have been coming. Yeah. So we spent the next however long, 25 minutes, looking for my keys everywhere. Fucking all over the place.
Yeah, we were like lifting the cushion.
Yeah. So we're looking all around the dance floor, go up to the bar people... Terrorizer are fucking shredding the fucking whole of World Downfall. It was them playing the hot title. It's 25 minutes gone, I haven't even noticed what's happening on the stage, right? At one point, I tear up all the couch, looking for the keys. The Terrorizer merch guy comes over, such a nice guy. He was like, what's up, man, what's up? I said, mate, I've lost my fucking car keys. I've had it, I'm dead. Like, he fucking... The Terrorizer merch guy took his time to help me rip that couch apart. Yeah. Couldn't find him nowhere. Couldn't find him fucking no place. So I say to you, I said, the only place they can be is by the car, around the car, remember? So we were like, and you were like, fuck this, I don't even, we were that panicked. He was like, I don't even want to watch the band now. Let's just leave. So we leave, we run back to the car, tear ass to the car, and this is where it gets really bad. We get to the car, and not only are the keys still in the ignition, the fucking handbrake is down. Oh my God, luckily the car was still open, and I got my keys back. We're like, fucking hell, my heart, for the first time in like 35 minutes, slowed down. Fucking completely slowed down. We're like, let's go back to the fucking gig and enjoy the rest of it. Got back, there wasn't much gig left. It was a complete, utter fucking disaster.
And you got your ear chewed off for the last 10
minutes. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, that doesn't matter. Yeah, that's nothing here or there. But it was a fucking. I didn't get to enjoy or see anything from a gig I was looking forward to for months, all because my fucking. But you know what? I know why that happened. If you remember, when we parked up in that car park, there was a big faff with the fucking parking meter, and them other metal guys were trying to get it to work, and we were at that parking meter for about 15 minutes, and I think in the end we were just happy we finally got it to work, and we just must have fucking, were that eager to get in the gig that we just fucking walked off, forgot my fucking car keys. But yeah, that's again, nothing to do with the band, but I didn't enjoy any of that, and I'd love to hear if any of you's got any stories like that too, because I'm sure out there, you've got a few stories like that.
There you go. So that's our picks, and so
don't kill me, Mum.
There you go. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Ring the bell if you want some notifications. Instagram, Facebook. Give us some messages, follows, likes, all that stuff. And see you next time. That's what I say.